Sometimes in our relationships, we spend so much time nitpicking and being negative and what they talk about what our significant others don't do, what our spouses don't do, what our boyfriends and girlfriends don't do, that we never stop and think and appreciate the things they do. All right? And that's a big problem because someone can do so well for so long and you never say anything about it, but they mess up one time. And you lose it on them. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the FCS PREP Podcast, where I'm your host, Dr. Keith Fairclough. This is where real change happens right now. All right? That's what FCS PREP is about. Real change right now. I appreciate you all showing up. Housekeeping stuff, because we're going to get straight into it today, because this is part 2 of the previous podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, share. If you haven't seen the previous podcast, it goes hand in hand with this one. So, you don't have to leave to go see it because it all works together, but I do recommend you go see it. I'll put a little thing up there so y'all can go click on that link and go and see that other podcast. So, as we move forward, right, we're going to pick up right where we left off. We're talking about unconditional love operating in our relationship, right? So, we've talked about how it can just make things so much better, right? Look at for the best interest of others. We talked about how it allows people to open up. So we're going to be going a little bit deeper into it with more points. And I'll be honest, as I was looking at the different points, I'm like, daggone, we still got a lot more to go. So I'm going to try to get them all in, shove them all into this one, just so it's a 2-parter. I don't really want it to be a 3-parter, but we'll see what happens, all right? So listen, let's hop right into it, right? Because this is what you came here for. The first one today we're talking about is unconditional love is kind. This means that unconditional love is it correlates heavily with empathy. It correlates heavily with considering the other person. For us to be kind, we need to consider the other person, right? And in this case, we're talking about our significant other, right? The love of our life, someone we really care about. So it's not just about doing nice things. I know people think, look, I'm kind, I do nice things. Lots of people do nice things and are not kind. There are people who are wicked and give lots of money to people, and that's a nice thing. No, I'm talking about I'm able to interact with my significant other, with the love of my life. I'm able to consider their point of view. I'm able to listen to them. I'm able to hear them and validate them. I'm able to comfort them and make sure they're safe, make sure they're good. I love the person I'm talking to. I love my significant other. So when I'm bringing up a concern, I'm doing it in a way where it's loving. It's not making them defensive. That's kind. That's what unconditional love allows us to do. All right. Unconditional love produces this level of kindness, or I should say it should produce this level of kindness in our relationships where we can flourish. All right. The next thing unconditional love does, unconditional love appreciates. Gratitude. I cannot stress this enough. Sometimes in our relationships, we spend so much time nitpicking and being negative and what they talk about what our significant others don't do, what our spouses don't do, what our boyfriends and girlfriends don't do, that we never stop and think and appreciate the things they do. All right? And that's a big problem because someone can do so well for so long and you never say anything about it, but they mess up one time. And you lose it on them. You're always doing this. You're always saying this. You're always acting like this. And it makes someone feel really undervalued. It makes them feel unappreciated. It makes them feel unloved when we do this. So we need to show gratitude. That's what unconditional love does. It appreciates. Hey, I appreciate the big things you do for me. I appreciate the small things you do for me. I appreciate you picking up your socks. I appreciate you making the bed. I appreciate you doing the dishes. I appreciate you coming home in a decent time. I appreciate the time we're spending together. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me and the things that I have going on and allow me to decompress. Unconditional love shows appreciation at all times. And I'm telling you, when you show appreciation to your significant other, it's going to enhance your relationship drastically, because when people feel appreciated, they feel valued and it feels good. People want to feel good. So guess what they're going to do? More of the stuff that gets them appreciated just naturally. I've talked about in other videos about fear and how the body naturally likes to, when it looks for things to be scared of, I don't want to say looks for things to be scared of, but it looks for threats, and it can generalize and makes things kind of scary, right? Why? So it can protect us. Why? Because it wants to keep us safe. Vice versa, if the body knows that something that it's doing is good for it. It makes it feel happy because happy is a safe emotion for the body. It's going to want to do more of that. So appreciation. Make sure that through unconditional love, you are showing appreciation in your relationships because let me tell you, it's going to take your relationship to a whole nother level, I promise you. And I said that a lot for the other things. But any of these things, I'm telling you, when you implement them, they're going to take your relationship to a whole nother level. I promise you. Next thing, unconditional love builds up. Right? Unconditional love builds up. It kind of ties into being kind in the sense of I'm thinking and being considerate of the other person, but I'm concerned about their growth. I'm concerned about them physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually. I'm concerned about them. I want them to grow. I don't want them to be hindered. I want them to grow in every area possible. When they talk to me about something, I'm going to try to give them as much input as possible so that they can grow. I'm concerned about your growth. If you're in a relationship, here's a big red flag. The unconditional love is missing in your relationship. It's when the other person, your significant other, does not care about your growth. When they're like, I don't care what you do. I'm just focused on myself and how I'm growing. I'm focused on my business. I'm focused on my health. I'm focused on my spirituality. I'm focused on all that. I'm not focused on what you do. Like, whatever you do you. That's a big red flag. That's a problem. Because if you truly love somebody, you want the best for them. And if you want the best for them, then you're going to want them to grow. So you should be concerned about their growth. If you see them doing something that's not good for them, if you see them and they have all this potential and you're not focused and talking to them about, hey, I see you got all this potential. Why are you just sitting back doing this? You could be doing this and that and this and that and encouraging them to grow. That's a problem because unconditional love is concerned about the growth of our significant other. It just is. Just naturally, because you want the best for them. You want to see them built up. Unconditional love is really, really big when it comes to looking out for our significant other and making sure that they're growing, right? If we see them not growing in a certain area, then we bring it to them lovingly. Let them know, hey, I'm concerned about you. I want you to grow. I want you to do good, because you're awesome. You're whatever other words you want to put behind it. But unconditional love is concerned about building up our significant other because that's just what love does. Love doesn't want you to stay the same because we know that in this world, in this life, nothing stays the same. It either gets better or it gets worse, but nothing stays the same. Next thing, unconditional love creates a safe place for each person to share their thoughts and feelings. And a matter of fact, I'm actually going to combine two of these points. Right? I'm going to combine two of these points. And because another other point is unconditional love communicates. So because when we learn how to communicate properly, we then can create that safe space for someone to share their thoughts and feelings. Right? And why is this important? Right? And when I say communicate properly, I'm talking about you're considering, this kind of ties in other things as well, you're considering the other person. When they bring up a concern, you don't say, oh, well, you did this, or well, you did that, or how about when you said, no. Your turn to bring up your concern was before they brought their concern up. That was when your turn was. Right? You can't now bring it up, because they're calling you out on something or saying something. I'm not even saying calling you out because that sounds kind of harsh. Usually if you're having good conversation, if you're in a loving relationship, if you're being kind, you're building the person up and you're saying, 10 positives to 1 negative, if you're doing all that stuff like that, then more often than not, they're not going to bring it up in a way that should disturb you, right? And there's ways to go about doing it, but they're going to bring it up in a way because the environment's going to be safe to share their thoughts and feelings because there's love and the communication is right? So when I say it makes a safe place, guys, this builds trust. This builds intimacy. This draws us closer. When you can open up, and I've talked about this in probably some of the other points in other videos, but this draws us closer. If I know I can be completely and totally open with my wife, why wouldn't I draw closer to her? Like I said about appreciation and doing good things, that's a phenomenal thing. She's allowing me to express myself, to share my thoughts and share my feelings. She's empathizing with me. She's saying, I hear you. I'm validating. I see why you could feel that way. That makes me feel good. It makes me feel safe. I can trust her. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up to her more and more and more. It builds that trust. It builds that loyalty. Oh my gosh. That communication, it's so important. And communication, it's a two-way street, right? Because to communicate in a relationship, it takes one to talk and one to listen. And I'm not going to go into all the details about communication. I have a whole video about using I statements. I'll put that link right here. You can click over there, watch that, and then come back and watch the rest, because communication is critical in your relationship. It is so important. If you are struggling with communication, I strongly recommend you watch that video. I strongly recommend you get help. But here's what I've seen in a lot of relationships. It's not that people hate each other. It's not that people are like, well, that's a horrible person. Maybe it gets to that point, but if you drill down deep enough, it's not that they're a horrible person. It's not that they are just evil or whatever. More often than not, it's that they can't communicate. And unfortunately, guys, we kind of get the short end of the stick on that because we've never been taught to communicate. We've been taught to suppress our emotions. We've been taught to not talking about them. We've been taught to put all that stuff down and just work, and push, and because nobody cares and everybody else has problems and you shouldn't just worry about yours. And if you're a real man, if you're a real man, you'll handle your own problems, which is complete and total garbage and bullcrap. And I'm sorry if maybe this offends you or because you're a culture, whatever the case may be, but it's garbage. It really is. And I'm telling you why it's garbage, because we have emotions, we have feelings, and the men that are healthiest, the men that are the happiest are the ones that are able to share and express their emotions effectively and efficiently. Those are the happiest men. It doesn't make them weak. As a matter of fact, it makes them strong because they can recognize, dang, that made me feel some kind of way, and now I'm going to address it in a way that's loving, in a way that I can get what I need and they can get what they need, all right? So that's why, guys, we really got to work on our communication, because a lot of times I hear the same thing over and over again. The women are talking and we're not listening. And this isn't some guy bashing thing or anything like that, because on the other side of that, there's a lot of women that when they get to that point, and it's like, I'm talking, but they're not responding. They're not giving the guys the opportunity or the chance. And some may say different, but a lot of times they get frustrated because it's like the guy stonewalls and shuts down, right? A lot of times because the conversation starts out as you always do this, you always do that, you always say this, you always do that. How come you don't do this? And how come you don't do that? So now the guy who struggles with communicating in the first place, what does he do? He either shuts down or builds up and explodes. Of course, that's not going to lead to anything good. She's not going to feel loved and valued. He's not going to feel loved and valued. No one's going to feel loved and valued in that situation at all. So that's why communication is so important on both ends. That's why the empathy is so important on both ends, because with both of you understand, okay, I know he might be having a hard time articulating himself. Let me give him some space. And the guy, hey, I know that she is hurting and that she really wants to she's really sharing her heart with me. I'm just struggling. Something as simple as just saying, man, hey, I hear you, babe. I hear you. I'll be honest though, this is just uncomfortable for me because I'm just not used to it. But you just bear with me as I go through this. It's better to say something like that than just to sit there like you know what that tells her? Dang, he doesn't even care. And you know it's not the case, because then what do they all, I won't say all women, but what do women say? You don't love me. You don't care about me. Because if you love me and care about me, you wouldn't just sit there looking stoic because I'm crying my eyes out. And the guy's like, no, I do love you. I do care about you. I just don't know what to say. I'm freezing up. I'm not used to this, right? I'm not used to open up and sharing. I've never been given that opportunity in that safe place to. So I say all to say this, guys. Guys, unconditional love communicates. Unconditional love creates that safe space for us to share our thoughts and our feelings. That's what unconditional love enables us to do. And when we're able to do that, it builds intimacy, it builds trust, it builds loyalty, and there's accountability. There's just so many things that come with that if we're able to communicate and create that safe space. Because I'll tell you this, it's much easier to take personal responsibility if in a safe space than in a place where you feel like you're going to be attacked, or a space where you feel like things are going to be used against you. Gotta have that unconditional love. And again, I just combined 2 points. That's why they're a little bit longer. But unconditional love communicates, and unconditional love creates that safe space for us to share our thoughts and feelings without the fear of rejection or abandonment or anything like that, right? Which a lot of people have felt, in their lifetime. Unconditional love increases our ability to take personal responsibility. And I just touched on this just a second ago. Just touched on it, right? So unconditional love, what it allows us to do, the space is safe to share our thoughts and feelings. Then guess what? It's a lot easier for when my wife comes to me and says, hey, babe, you said that, that made me feel good. I felt kind of hurt about that, because of XYZ. You know what happens? because it's a safe space, because I know it's unconditional love, because I know she really loves me and cares about me, and I love and care about her. You know what I'm able to say in that situation? Oh, babe, I didn't mean to do that to you. I didn't mean to hurt you. I promise you. God knows I promise I didn't mean to hurt you. I won't do it again. I'm sorry. Hey, what can I do to make it better? Something along those lines, right? I just own it. I own it. Why? Because it's safe. She's not my enemy. She's not out to get me. Let the world tell you it's like, oh, she is out to get you, or he is out to get you. He doesn't care. And there's all that foolishness out there in the world. And that's why I'm trying to make these videos, because there's so much garbage out there in the world poisoning people's minds, about this him versus her, and guys versus girls, and guys ain't this, and girls are to the streets, and all this garbage, all this trash. And all we need is just unconditional love, considering one another. Right? I'm not going to go over all the points. But if we just had that in our relationship, if both people felt valued, both people felt heard, validated, understood, and it was safe, and men could grow in their ability to communicate and share their thoughts and feelings, and we're able to take personal responsibility, oh my gosh, how crazy, how much better would this world be if our relationships, reflected that unconditional love? This point right here, unconditional love makes it easier to take personal responsibility. So the last point I'm going to make is unconditional love should lead to self-improvement as well. And that kind of ties into personal responsibility, because here's the thing. If your significant other is bringing up something that you've done, and maybe they brought it up to you 2 times, 3 times, right? You should be taking note of that. You should be making sure that, okay, if I messed up doing this, I need to do something better. I need to do something different. I need to communicate different. If she says, man, you were kind of aggressive with what you said, kind of hurt my feelings, and maybe that's the way you grew up, or that was naturally how you were, right? You could say, hey, babe, I've apologized about this a lot of times, but I just need to get some help. I need to get some help. I need to talk to somebody. I just got these things built up in me, and I'm struggling to process my emotions, and unfortunately it comes out, and so I'm so sorry. I need to get help. That should lead to self-improvement. I can't tell you how many times I've had to reevaluate how I operate with my wife and how that's improved me. And here's the beautiful thing about it, right? That the unconditional love leads to that self-improvement. When you get better, everything else around you gets better. Listen, that's like the whole premise behind FCS, improving the world by improving you. Unconditional love in your relationship is going to allow you to get better. It's going to allow you to start looking at some of your character defaults and start working on them, start fixing them. Things that you learned from your parents, things that you learned from your culture, things that you learned from your society or your religion or whatever that are wrong and that are dysfunctional. It's going to allow you in a safe space to reflect and look at yourself and say, hey, you know what? Hey, this is hurting her. This is causing problems in our relationship. I got to do something. And maybe you need to read a book, and maybe you need to get therapy, or maybe you need to find a friend to talk to, maybe you need a mentor, maybe you need to go to school, maybe you need whatever. I don't know. Maybe you need coaching, maybe you need something, but it moves you towards self-improvement. And that is what it's all about. Because when you get better, your relationship's going to get better. She's going to know he cares about her. He's going to know she cares about him. Why? Because they're doing something different. They're not just staying the same. That's the problem in a lot of relationships, is that we say, oh yeah, I'm going to change, I'm going to change, I'm going to change, I'm going to change. And we never do. We never do anything different. We don't stop to consider the person. Guys, that's the last point, and we're at the kind of the same stopping point as the last video. Guys, unconditional love. This is how it operates in our relationships. It's got to be there. It's got to be there. If you find yourself, you're going through this video and you're doing your inventory of yourself and you're doing an inventory of your relationship, and you see certain points are missing. Maybe you're on point with some things, but some things are off. And here's the thing. It's going to be a little bit difficult for you to be on point for some things and then be on and off point for other things, because a lot of this stuff is interconnected. Like even in this video, like the communication in the safe space, right? The being kind, right? The building each other up, like all these things, you're looking out for each other's best interests. All these things are kind of interconnected. So it's kind of hard to be, oh, I'm on fire in this area, but I'm doing horrible in this area. It's not saying that you might be, having some semblance of doing stuff good like that, but just keep in mind, like this all works together. And when your relationship is hitting on all cylinders, this is going to reflect. You're going to see this. You're going to see this. Others are going to see it. And you're going to be able to share that with others. right? We should be able to go out into the world and be like, I love my significant other. I love my wife. I love my husband. I love my girlfriend. I love my boyfriend. And this is why, because they do X, Y, and Z. We shouldn't be having to get online or go out in public and talk to people and, oh, my guy ain't this or my guy ain't that. We shouldn't be in a group of friends that are tearing their significant others apart. And then here we are trying to jump on the bandwagon. No, we should be like, I don't know what you're talking about because I don't experience that. My guy, he talks to me. He makes me a safe place. He loves me. He's there for me when I'm down, and vice versa. The guys should be saying, nah, I don't know about y'all. My girl ain't out in the streets. She ain't dressing appropriately. She ain't doing this. She ain't doing that. Nah, she keeps me in here. She's always looking out for me. She's cooking for me. She's out there helping me, and she's giving me ideas and so on and so forth. Like, that's how it should be. People should see us and see our relationship, see the change, not just in us, but in each other in the relationship. Guys, unconditional love has got to be in your relationship. It's got to be operating in your relationship. If unconditional love is not operating in your relationship, you need to stop and find out why not. Get the help you need. Right, so this is your call to action right now. If you need help in your relationship, if you need help understanding how to put unconditional love in your relationship, what I need you to do is reach out to me, schedule a consultation, book one, right? Let's get together. Let's talk. Let's figure out how we can enhance your relationship. Let's talk about how we can experience real change right now. Let's talk about how we can improve the world by improving you and improving your relationship. Right? Let's talk about that. Let's get you back on the right track. Let's get love back into our relationships. Instead of just tearing one another down, let's start building one another up with unconditional love. I love you guys. Y'all take care. Have a great, awesome, and blessed day. I will see you all soon. I can't promise I'm putting out something every week, but I'm going to be doing my absolute best to do so. And I want you to stay tuned for sure, because I'm actually going to start going into dating and what to do beforehand and what to do while you're doing it, which is really, really important. Because if you set yourself up properly beforehand, this unconditional love I'm talking about is going to show itself and be there in the relationship as you guys are moving forward. But if you don't, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks and a lot of issues on the way towards making a good relationship and making a life with someone, if you even get to that point. Y'all take care. Have a great, awesome, and blessed day. I love you all, and I'll see you all soon.